Greetings! In today's video, I am going to showcase a few spaceships that I've made. Yeah, let's get started. So the first spaceship that I'm going to showcase is the first spaceship that I've made. It doesn't have a name. It is an original design. And as for the interest that all of these have, it's mainly going to be aesthetic and in the shape design, because they basically all control the same and have many guns on them, but that's about it. So, you know, WASD controls, a little bit shaky because it is a very large creation, 700 complexity, as most of them will be in this video, and many guns, as well as, I believe, rockets in the front. Yes. And here we are. So yeah, this is the first ship that I came up with a very long time ago. I've changed out its internals a few times, like all of the internal systems that make it fly as my building technique has evolved, but the outer shell is basically the same. There might have been a few modifications here and there to save up some complexity, to gain some efficiency. But generally, that's the same design that I came up with. The second ship that I'm going to showcase is this one. This one a little bit more literal in its definition of spaceship, because it is inspired by the animated movie Treasure Planet, in which they have pirate ships that fly with sails and everything. And therefore, this is very much a ship that goes in space, or in the air at the moment. It can indeed sail as a ship proper. It has a function by which if it lowers itself to the surface of the sea, it will indeed stop dropping and turn into effectively a ship. And there you go. Now it's essentially locked in this altitude, and it's not going to move until I ask it to lift out of the water. And then it will drop again until this specific altitude. It again has many guns on it. The airborne update has allowed for tracking side weapons, and so it is now very easy to acquire target even while piloting rather unruly craft such as this. The next design I will showcase is an artillery ship of a design of my own, again. It has a slightly older control scheme as it was made quite a while ago. However, I'm still pretty happy with it, how it maneuvers and stuff. It's got its artillery cannon, which is piston-powered, double-barreled, front-facing cannon, which really packs a punch. And it has a whole bunch of mini, I guess, flak cannons or defense cannons. Still forward-facing, although they can be turned to face sidewards for a broadside if needed. And, indeed, the giant artillery cannon can be faced up and down, depending on whether you want to lob the shells into the stratosphere and artillery something very far away, or if you want to, like a Star Destroyer, orbital strike something below you. So yeah, again, pretty happy with this design. It's pretty satisfying. It's a design I'm happy with. The next design I will showcase is the Cutlass Black from Star Citizen. It is a dropship. It's not very fast, it's not very agile. However, it does have a lot of cargo space, and it has the opening doors. It has many guns, as usual. Controls much the same as all of the other ships that I've showcased. And, well, the interesting part of it is its landing animation, and, well, it has rockets. There you go. So as you can see, it's gonna drop quite slowly, turn its thrusters vertical, extend its landing gear, open its side doors, bays, things, and allow the troops to exit. I have another starship from Star Citizen. This is the Idris, I believe. This one's even simpler. It has no landing animation because I had no complexity to spare. It's got many guns. It's much more of a broadside ship than the other ones so far. That's about it. It controls just exactly like all of the others. And it has the same function as the Treasure Planet ship, where it can lock itself into a boat altitude, basically, and pretend to be a boat. Because why wouldn't your ships fly? This, instead, is a sort of original design. It's inspired by the Captain Harlock ship, the Arcadia, before it became a giant skull demon ship. It looked like a shark and it had teeth. So this is that design. Yeah, it flies exactly like everything else. It has many guns. It has smoke generators in the back to make the exhaust look sort of realistic. And it has a tiny landing gear in the front, which pops out at the very end, right before you're landing. Then, another ship from Star Citizen. This is the Corsair. I have showcased this before in a couple of videos. However, it's still one of my favorite ships that I've made. Missiles, guns, many of them. Its thrusters and internal components are generally a little bit more exposed than I would like. Most of my other ships have them completely internalized or almost. However, it doesn't matter. It looks awesome. That's what it's supposed to do. And it's serviceable and effective in combat enough. It doesn't have to be OP. It's OP enough as it is. Oh. And I will showcase its rather awesome landing animation, or takeoff animation in this case, where its wings fold out, and then when it lands, its wings fold back in. It is indeed quite happy. The penultimate ship that I will showcase is the Pillar of Autumn from Halo. This is, again, an older design that I had in my blueprints as a shell with internals, but older internals that I then swapped out for very much better control schemes. It doesn't have as many guns as most of my other ships because I didn't have enough complexity to add any in. And so it just has forward-facing guns. It's supposed to have a giant railgun, the Mac cannon in the front, but I don't have enough complexity to do that. So I am going to have to live with a lot of small pew, which is fine. I also enjoy how the hover pads in the back make a very nice thruster pack. And as you can see in the build mode, it has a lot of hinges, a lot of opening sides to get the shape that I needed from the Pillar of Autumn. And the ultimate ship, the last one, which is incidentally the most recent one that I've made, is probably the smallest one. In size, definitely. It might not be the smallest complexity one that I've made, because it has a lot of hinges as well. However, this is the Ark from Transformers Dark of the Moon. It has many guns for a ship of its size, not as many as the other larger counterparts. It's rather maneuverable. It doesn't have as much stabilization logic within it because it's not as large and not as heavy. It doesn't need so much assistance. It has this rear-facing gunner, which is obviously inspired by the movie. And it has many, many rockets to annihilate any enemies that might present themselves. It also has very much tiny landing gear in the front that extend out. And they have friction pads at the bottom so that it actually stops rather than keep sliding off the carrier whenever I try to land it. Yeah, and it has this flame effect on the thrusters that turns on at certain speeds. And yeah. Alrighty. And there you go. That is my short showcase of spaceships, airships, starships, whatever you may want to call them. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and I will see you in the future.